You're not trying to trigger any emotions. So you as a brand or a marketer, it's not that you're trying to make people feel certain things. Your assumption should be, and your understanding should be, that when people come to your website, they're already feeling all sorts of emotions. Your goal, my specialty, is a framework that I built called the Emotional Targeting Framework, which is based on understanding human decisions, human behavior. No, I think I would just go back to the most important thing, which is whether you're running 10, 20, 30, one experiment a month or none, and you want to get better result and leveraging those insights to actually optimizing entire customer journeys. How did I get here? I started writing a blog. I think that was the beginning. It was writing case studies on a weekly basis for our clients, and also just sharing my thoughts. And again, like when I started, like there were maybe two other agencies in the world back then that were, known of. Till this day, my dad will still recommend me as a Facebook expert to someone, but
Amazing.
whatever. If we divide it into single conversions, every conversion is a decision. Someone is making a decision to buy. If I can reverse engineer that decision, if I can understand how people make decisions, then I can convince them to buy. Meaning, if I understand the biggest feedback we get from clients, everyone's like, yes, you increased our conversions. But the best thing is it's happening. We're doing things. Everyone's working together. And I think that is the underlying part of it, that you feel like it's a well-oiled machine and everyone's working together. I'm in the middle right now of writing an outline with my COO.
Wow.
A scoop for
Is
you,
this a scoop?
Lucia.
Talia, welcome. You're one of the legends that has been running a CRO agency since the very beginning. And I wanted to ask you, if there's someone here today that doesn't know you, what are you known for, and how did you end up being so famous in our industry? What do you think?
First of all, that is incredibly kind of you to say. I do feel like kind of a dinosaur sometimes. How do I introduce myself? I'm Talia, and I run a conversion optimization agency. My specialty is a framework that I built called the Emotional Targeting Framework, which is based on understanding human decisions, human behavior, and leveraging those insights to actually optimizing entire customer journeys. How did I get here? I started writing a blog. I think that was the beginning. It was writing case studies on a weekly basis for our clients, and also just sharing my thoughts. And again, like when I started, like there were maybe two other agencies in the world back then that were, known of. And I would publish case studies, and I started speaking on stages about what I do.
And what were those case studies about? Because there were CRO clients, or they were
Yes.
like marketing clients?
Yeah, there were CRO clients. So my journey started in social media, actually.
Why that
Yes.
face?
I'm like, social media. Till this day, my dad will still recommend me as a Facebook expert to someone, but whatever.
Amazing.
But yeah, I started out in social media and like traffic. But when I started my conversion optimization agency, my first one, so I've worked in two. One wasn't owned by me. I worked for two founders, but I was the CEO and ran the company. We did loads of A/B tests for all sorts of companies. And that's what I was doing. I was just writing short case studies about landing pages and what we were trying and what we were doing. And it was just then when I started building the emotional targeting framework. So I kind of dug a lot into like psychology and emotion and stuff like that. And it was quite different, which is, I guess it's still a bit different than what most CRO blogs are about. But back then it was very technical about, velocity and statistical significance is what most people were speaking about. Mine was more about, and here's how people feel, and here's how psychology works, and why you should care. I guess
That's
that's,
great, right? That you had to offer that.
yeah, it was amazing. Because I
Yeah.
didn't know much about it. So I think I kind of won on both ends.
Yeah.
Number one was, okay, yes, I got known as the person who understands CRO, it like deep. It's not just technical, but it's understanding human behavior and human psychology. And two, I actually got to learn about it. Like I literally dove into so many books and research and I don't know, it was just really interesting.
And what is it that makes you so passionate about it? Like why you didn't just stay in Facebook marketing?
Funnily enough, what happened was it was kind of natural and I didn't know. So we were running loads of campaigns, like very big campaigns for our clients. But it was back in the days when all people measured was like likes on Facebook or follows. And then I started asking our clients, are you getting any leads? Are you getting any sales? And none of them knew. And I was like, oh, let me find out how to figure this stuff out. So I was like, oh, okay, Google Analytics. And I started working on that. And then just by chance, I just started changing things. At first, it was just like, I wonder if I change this headline, what would happen? I wonder if I change this image. And then I suddenly realized that, like, oh, this is a job. Like, this is a thing. And then I kind of started Googling it. And I was like, oh, there's someone here that writes about this stuff. It's called what? CRO? This is interesting. So I kind of did it without knowing I was doing it and became kind of the person who's like testing stuff, but not statistically significant tests, just like changing things. And I fell in love with it. I loved it. And then I started learning it.
So were your first tests, the data behind it was not very solid, or how would you describe
Absolutely.
it?
It was me testing, like, oh my God, it was back when we like FBML stuff on Facebook. So just kind of testing in the ads themselves, like Facebook ads, LinkedIn ads, Twitter ads were just at the beginning. 2007, 2009, I don't know. It was a while ago, maybe a bit later. But anyway, yeah, it wasn't really statistically significant. No, I mean, I was just changing stuff, right? I was just going up to the designer and saying, like, I don't think this image works. Let's try this.
And then just seeing before and after and looked at
Yeah.
the data in that way. Yeah,
Yeah.
I see. And what was your real first A/B test about? Do you remember?
My real first A/B test, I think it was for a golf landing page. So we had a client that sold golf products and all sorts of things, and they were spending so much money on paid. And I discovered an A/B testing tool, and I was like, I'm just gonna try this. And it was a headline, I think.
A winner? Do you remember?
Do not. Sorry.
That's okay. No worries. And what is it about zero and experimentation that has changed in the past 15 years? Because, like you described, it already looked very different. Like no one knew what zero was. You were discovering it yourself, and then you run your first headline test. How is that today? What does the market today look like, in your opinion?
It's interesting because when I first got started and I worked at a CRO agency, whenever I would try and pitch clients, my main message was why CRO? Like why that matters. And a lot of it was around like, you're driving traffic, but you're not getting enough conversions. If we could make changes to the page without you spending more, like that was the spiel. But there's definitely a change because over the past, I would say almost 10 years, it's been more about you're trying things, but it's not working. And it's not working because you're doing CRO the wrong way. And here's how you should be doing it. So that was a big change from not even understanding why it's important for the market to people understanding, okay, I need this. But then there was the rush, kind of like with AI right now, where everyone was like, try everything, do everything, technical, tactical, all the stuff. And then everyone kind of settled in and was like, okay, we need an actual strategy for this. Now it's kind of crazy, right? Like the amount of tools that are out there. And I think obviously like Google Optimize kind of made it mainstream, which I think was it a good tool? I don't know. We won't answer that today. But the fact that it was free and so many companies started using it was a great thing for our industry, I think. There are so many more tools now, so much more advanced, and a lot of platforms that weren't even to do with A/B testing have introduced A/B testing within their platforms, even like email marketing, email automation. So it's definitely changed a lot.
Hmm. And for you, so does that affect how you approach, your emotional targeting framework? So how you apply that for clients, the way the industry is, has that changed over the years?
Tools have not affected the framework as much. We've always been, as an agency, more inclined to whatever tool or platform our client is using, we will use, rather than trying to move them over to something new, because that is just too much, unless we're asked to. And then obviously we'll help choose a tool and help them onboard it and whatever. But in terms of the actual framework and the way we go about optimization, tools have never changed that. Not A/B testing tools. Researching tools, yes, they've given us a lot more power to find the answers of what we're looking for, maybe easier or quicker or more in depth. These days we'll use stuff like SurveyMonkey or Typeform to conduct surveys. In the past, it would be a Google form or it would just be an email. So we do use different tools in order to conduct better research, whether if it's in the past, we do user testing in a room with people. Now we can
Exactly.
do it online.
I have to say that has been the biggest change for me over the years, that instead of having to find people and invite them and serve them coffee and then talk to them, and I've worked at corporates where there would be rooms to interview and then another view to spectate kind of what was
Yeah.
happening. It was amazing, but it took a lot of time, and now it's just you can just be on a call with someone, right?
Yes, it is. It is incredible. And it's not only that. Sometimes there are tools out there now that you can just like upload this stuff. And a few days later, you just get the output of like, here's how many people went through this. Here was here's who the people were, and here's what they thought. So I'm not saying that this is the best way, but there are so many levels to it that I think it's made it so much more approachable so that anyone can do this kind of research. And as long as you know what you're looking for, you can get things done really well.
No, I agree. And Talia, you have written a book. For the people that haven't read it, can you explain us a little bit about how do you use the heart to win conversions, in a summary or in a couple of sentences?
Yeah, sure. The book Emotional Targeting is basically a guide to my framework. And the framework is based on something quite simple. You and I just talked about how I used to do testing. And the way I did testing when I got started was just guess. Like, oh, I think this doesn't work. And to eliminate that, because it wasn't getting me the results that I wanted, I decided that I needed to crack this whole thing. So I understood that every conversion, if we divide it into single conversions, every conversion is a decision. Someone is making a decision to buy. If I can reverse engineer that decision, if I can understand how people make decisions, then I can convince them to buy. Meaning, if I understand how our brain works, what process people go through when they're trying to decide whether to buy something or not, then I can give them the content, the information, the design, the colors, the visuals, everything they need in order to make an educated decision and feel confident about that. And when I started doing that research into understanding, okay, how do we make decisions? The interesting thing that came out was that all of our decisions in life are based on emotion. Everything, whether we're buying for ourselves or for a company, every single decision is based on emotion. And when we did very in-depth research into understanding those emotions, so the pains that people feel, the concerns, the hesitations, and their desires, and how they want to feel about themselves, how they want other people to think about them. When we were able to identify all of that, it was a lot easier to look at a page and understand why people aren't converting, because we were telling the wrong stories, or we're using the wrong visuals or images, or we're promising things people don't care about. So then you can actually optimize with a real hypothesis. And it's not just, oh, my homepage isn't converting, let's try a headline, let's try an exit pop-up, or reduce a form field. It was based on, my hypothesis is people feel this way or need to see this information in order to convert. And that's not on the page, so let's add it in. And that's what the process is. It's identifying those emotions and how people make decisions, auditing your website and your assets to see if they include all of that information, and then testing new hypotheses and new tests.
Okay, so let's say a new client comes to you, and let's say it's a golf client again selling, whatever it is you were selling back in the day. How would you start? So, for the people listening that don't know your framework exactly, how do you look to the website, having done this a lot of times?
So the first thing that we do is our research. And when I say research, I mean customer research, meaning we do customer interviews, customer surveys, we do an emotional competitor analysis. We actually run something called social listening. So we comb through hundreds, if not thousands, of conversations on Reddit, on LinkedIn, on Quora, YouTube comments, on Discord, anywhere where our clients' customers are hanging out and having conversations. And the whole goal of that research is to identify customers beyond behavioral metrics. So beyond age, geographical location, gender, device, and browsers, which is what all of us know about our customers. Our goal is to identify how people are feeling right now, what pains them, what's their challenges, what are their concerns, what's keeping them up at night. What are the things that they dislike? What are the things that they're worried about? And we also set out to uncover how they want to feel. What are their desired outcomes on an emotional level, on a value level? So it's not that I'm trying to buy a golf club. It's that I want to look in a certain way, or I want people to think about me in a certain way. I want to feel better as a golfer, or whatever, you uncover. But that is step number one, where you're really digging into who are the real people behind the screens. How do they make decisions about these kind of things? What's stopping them from converting? What are their hesitations? And how do they want to feel? And once we do that, then we look at the website. So it's kind of like a second step, actually.
You refrain from looking to the website at all in the beginning?
I mean, it's a little hard to do that,
Yeah.
but yes, that is kind of the goal, because we're trying to avoid biases. We also try and divide the research between a few people. But yeah, the goal is to first do the research and then come into the website with a new lens of, I am now the customer and I know so much about them. Now I'm going to look at the website and ask myself if the website caters to me, if it speaks to my pains, if it is making it about me, or if it's making it about the product. And it's a lot easier to identify those gaps when you know more about the customer.
And how do you then go from that research part? Because I think a lot of zero experimentation agencies do this, but then you have a list of pains, you have a list of ambitions they might have, how they want to be seen. How do you take all that? And I don't exactly know what that looks like actually for you, but how do you also take that and translate that into real experiments? And do you start with pain, or do you start with ambitions that customers might have? How does that look like?
So one of the biggest things that we want to identify is what the problem is, because I think when it comes to zero experimentations, most people approach it with, okay, let's say homepage, because we started with that example, my homepage is not converting. Then you go to Google and you look for best practices for homepages, or you think about like the foundation of stuff. You're thinking in like elements of, what elements can I change on the page to increase conversion? The way we approach it is, we ask ourselves, what is the problem on the page? If now I know that customers or prospects feel a certain way or want to feel a certain way, or I know their pains and their hesitations and I know everything about them, I can comb through the page and ask myself specific questions like, am I addressing these pains? Can people clearly see that this product was meant for them? Can they see the value? Do they care about this value? So there's a set of strategic questions that we ask ourselves, and then we form a hypothesis. And the hypothesis isn't, my homepage is broken, let's change a headline. It's, for example, when people come to this page, they cannot easily see that product is designed for people like them, or they can't see that other people like them have tried it and succeeded, or they're concerned about X. That is a much better hypothesis, because then all the changes that we make on a page are designed to solve that. And the reason I like this approach is because if I think that when people, if my hypothesis is that people landing on this page can't see that this is designed for people like them, then you can change testimonials, social proof, headlines, images, colors, all sorts of things, and test it. And whether if it increases conversions or not, you've learned something. So you can say, okay, the hypothesis still stands true, but the changes that we made aren't good enough. We need to go even deeper. So you have something that's the core of what you're trying to solve for. And then the elements are just the Band-Aid, the things that you're trying to fix. Does that make sense?
Definitely. And is that also the emotional resonance I've heard you speak about on other podcasts, that you first try to understand what will resonate, and how does that work? How would you explain that?
Yeah, emotional resonance is that the idea that you're not trying to trigger any emotions. So you as a brand or a marketer, it's not that you're trying to make people feel certain things. Or assumption should be, and your understanding should be, that when people come to your website, they're already feeling all sorts of emotions. Your goal is to meet people where they already are on an emotional level. And if you do that with your messaging specifically, if you speak to them with the words that they use, with the terms that they use, if you acknowledge their pains, if you promise things that they care about, then there's emotional resonance. People come here and to your website, they can see themselves, they can see others, and they feel safe. And the reason I talk about this a lot is because most brands talk a lot about their pricing and their features and their technology and how they work. But the problem with that is that this is what most brands are doing. So when someone comes to your website and they're evaluating you and a competitor, if you don't add that emotional component of why it's for them, then essentially you're just leaving them there, because most products are the same. You can't convince me otherwise. Like, maybe the pricing's a little different. Maybe you have one feature that someone else doesn't. But at the end of the day, it's the same product. And that you'll add something, they'll add something. You have to actually speak to them and to your customers and show them how you solve something differently and who you're speaking to. And that's emotional resonance. It's giving something beyond pricing, features, integration.
And is this also something that you apply to, your agency and the client engagements you have? Because I also know from running experimentation programs, there is kind of a life cycle in a client agency relationship as well.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, do you have any rituals or any specific things you report on to keep them happy and to keep meeting your clients where they are at?
I think one of the most important things for me before we start any project is understanding what our clients are trying to achieve. Because, yes, of course, they want an increase in conversions. Like, we all want to get more demo requests or more sales, but there is more to it. Sometimes you want to level up your team and you want them to be able to actually fish. Sometimes it's wanting to get that promotion. Sometimes you want to get more budget. Sometimes you want to prove to your executive team that you have value. Sometimes you just want to advance your own skills. So understanding what else are you trying to achieve beyond the obvious conversions
Mhm.
is key
Yeah.
on our end. And then we add that into various things. We do coaching, we do workshops for teams. We also report on other things, like how different team members are doing, or if we're trying to figure out sometimes clients come to us and it's more than conversions. A big part, I would say, is getting the team to work together, is actually breaking down all sorts of silos between product and marketing and sales and marketing. And we report on that too. Like, where are places that the teams have worked together and have done well?
What does that look like? Do you say like, yeah, at marketing we work with one person, or what do you measure there?
Well, it's a good question because it's not always like a measurable metric. Sometimes it's we met with the sales team 3
Right.
times this month to have a discussion about X. We did research for our client and uncovered these 3 big things, and then we presented it to the sales team or to the customer success team, and they're also using it. So we're showing the different ways how our research connects between everyone. Or sometimes, I mean, we've had times where we've actually managed to add one person from the sales team and one person from product for a monthly pod where we discuss big things. And there isn't a very specific like outcome, like, oh, we increase conversions. But now everyone's speaking to each other. Everyone values each other's work. We're not just blaming they're not getting enough leads. They're not bringing enough demos. It's more of we're getting people to work together. And I will say that I think the biggest feedback we get from clients, everyone's like, yes, you increased our conversions. But the best thing is it's happening. We're doing things. Everyone's working together. And I think that is the underlying part of it, that you feel like it's a well-oiled machine and everyone's working together.
And is this also what you're passionate about? Because I understand you're connecting a lot of people, and the monthly pod is really inspiring, like to set that up. Does this light a little fire in you, or how do you see this?
Yeah, I love it. I think I really enjoy coaching and working with teams and bringing them together and trying to shine a light on how every individual feels and how we can connect those. It's my favorite part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I see that. Wow, that's amazing, and that's a true strength. And in order to do this well, what then are your favorite types of clients to work with? Is there a type of client that is very good in receiving the coaching about the emotions and how to convert those into leads or sales? Is there a type of client that's really good doing this and where you can also connect them and do all the things that you love? Or are those clients that can be anywhere?
It's yeah, I mean, I think it depends on we're not really industry agnostic, so we're not like working per industry, but we do tend to work with a certain size of teams where there's an established marketing team, they're already trying things, they're already driving traffic, they're already trying to test stuff, but it's not working. I would say that we hit a very specific spot where these teams understand that in order to level up, they need to do more, but more strategically. And that's usually our best clients, where it's not that they're coming in because we want to go from 10 tests to 20 a month, but they're coming in because something's missing. We're trying all this stuff and it's not connecting and it's not working. And we need someone to help us with the strategy and the roadmap and really guide everyone in a certain way.
So your clients are already testing, but they're just hitting a roadblock somewhere.
Yeah, I mean, we do actually have clients where we don't do A/B testing with them because conversion optimization isn't just A/B testing,
Hmm.
obviously.
Yeah.
So we do have quite a lot of clients who lean on us more for optimizing their messaging and their whole growth. But it is obviously from a CRO standpoint, but they can't necessarily test. But there's still a lot that you can do in order to optimize and get them to the place where they can start testing.
And you would say the strength of the work that you do is in helping clients strategically connect everything that you can potentially know about customers and try to improve that in the funnel or messaging or whatever that is.
Yeah, absolutely. That's definitely the goal, bringing everyone together and helping them go deeper.
Yeah. And how did experimentation did it somehow also empower you as a person? Because it sounds like along the way you learned a lot, you tried a lot, and you saw a lot of different things. What has it brought to you?
Well, I mean, this entire industry has impacted me a lot, right? Like I got to meet great friends like yourself. So um, that a big part for me is always about the people. I really enjoy meeting people and talking to people. And I think one of the nice things about our industry too is that we're not jealous about the way we do stuff and we share. So I've learned a lot from colleagues and people that would be my competitors, but we don't see it that way. I've learned a lot from the people around me, and I've also learned a lot from my clients. And I'm myself am an optimizer, not just in marketing. Like I want to optimize things all the time,
Mhm.
from my house to how I raise my kids to how I grow vegetables in my garden, because that's what I do. So life as an optimizer is constantly like doing research. How can I optimize myself? How can I work out better? How can I do, optimize life? So it's just something that I think comes kind of natural to me. I guess I'm always thinking about what can be improved. And I've just learned a ton because I do so much research. So I enjoy that. And mostly I've learned a lot from my team. My team is incredible. And I love the fact that I've managed to hire people who are smarter than me. Uh, and I learn from them literally every day.
Another question, since you've been in the industries for such a long time, how would you recommend a brand, a team to get leadership buy-in for experimentation? Is there any way that you specifically approach that?
Usually we will personalize that advice
Yeah.
depending on the type of the team, the size of the team, and who they're trying to get buy-in from. I think the situation isn't as much as like getting buy-in for experimentation anymore. It's more getting buy-in for the way you want to do experimentation and getting buy-in from the teams around you to work with you on the stuff. Because I think, like, hypothetically, everyone loves the idea of experimentation. Everyone loves the idea of A/B testing stuff and being statistical significant, whatever, like being scientific. It's this idea of placing loads of books in a library but never actually reading them. Like people love the idea of it. So I think when I think about getting buy-in, I'm thinking about the specific personas in the company and understanding what would motivate them to work with you. For me, it's always been having an open door and inviting everyone to contribute, to listen, to hear. We recently did a big research project for one of our clients in AI security. And we worked with the VP of marketing to create something that she can present to everyone on the team, from the developers to customer success, of course, to the executive team. And it was a very interesting conversation because no one really paid a lot of attention to marketing and CRO beforehand. And I was on a call with her the other day and she said, I think I did too good of a job. Now everyone wants to ask, everyone wants updates, everyone
Yeah.
wants velocity.
Amazing.
It's funny, but I think, yeah, like understanding who you're selling to, understanding what you're trying to get from them. There's some people like when you want buy-in, it's just like, I want a budget, right? Or sometimes it's, I need this developer or I need this designer to understand what the heck it is that I'm asking of them. And I need someone to prioritize this. So when you're trying to get buy-in for CRO, the most important thing for you to ask yourself is what is my goal? Like, what am I actually trying to achieve from this person? What is the best possible outcome? And what is the best possible outcome for them? And it's very similar to emotional targeting, right? So in our number one rule with our emotional targeting framework is make it about the customer. They are number one. And it's the same. Your team, your managers are all now your customers, and you have to make it about them. So what do they value most? What do they care about most? And how can you help them achieve that with CRO?
That sounds really great. So you try to also implement your emotional framework there and understand what it is they want, need, and how you can help them achieve that.
Yeah, I mean, emotional targeting is, it's so huge and so big. I'm in the middle right now of writing an outline with my COO for our next book, which is actually about emotional targeting
A next
for
book?
a
Wow.
scoop for
Is this
you,
a scoop?
Lucia.
Oh my gosh.
But it's emotional targeting internally
Yeah.
for teams because there's so much you can do if you want to be a good manager, if you want to run successful teams and create alignment and bridge those gaps and grow. You have to actually use this emotional targeting everywhere. It's not just, meeting your customers, but it's also understanding the different people in your team, in the company, meeting them where they are, and working together, because it's obviously more than just, I need a salary. When people work and spend most of their life at work, you have to understand what they care about and care for them and actually make it about them. So we've kind of started dabbling in the idea, okay, what does emotional targeting look like internally for teams? Because emotional targeting is everything, without sounding too crazy, but too big. It is life, but it is very big.
Yeah, no, keep on going with that. What I really learned from this conversation is kind of how to be more aware of this emotional resonance and emotional targeting, how to use that. I really love the idea of the monthly pot where you bring people together, and also personalizing how you approach executive teams or other teams or people that you want to work with. Also, something that really stuck with me is the open door that you said we try to keep an open door for everyone. I wanted to ask you, is there anything else we haven't discussed yet that you would like to speak about? Anything we missed about your book? Anything you want to say about the book coming? Anything you want to say for companies that are just starting out or are already doing 10 experiments but can do more?
No, I think I would just go back to the most important thing, which is whether you're running 10, 20, 30, one experiment a month or none, and you want to get better results, the most important thing you need to be thinking about is your customer. And if you make it about yourself, if you make it about your own goals and metrics, you're not going to get there. So it's always about the customer. The customer always comes first with optimization. And it's the rule of thumb. So always start with the customer and end with the customer.
We start with the customer. Thank you, Talia.